In a world full of movie podcasts, here is one more. Welcome to Defend Your Movie with Sean Donnelly.
The time has come again. The champion must stand. It can only be one of us. Victoria! So stand up and fight, my friend. There's a title you must defend. Sha-na-na-na-na. Bring it to me. Defend your movie. Hello there, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Defend Your Movie. I am one of your hosts, Sean Donnelly, joined by my beautiful, back painless co-host.
Hi, everybody. It's Andy Fiore. I've been thinking about switching to Andrew.
You've been really?
Yeah,
Well,
switching
I want
to
to talk
Andrew
about that,
Fiore.
but before you say that, let's get to
Our guest.
Very funny comedian, performs all over the place. Has an album out right now. What's it called again?
Acting My Age.
Acting My Age.
Nice.
Matt Holt, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
to have you.
Thank you for doing this, dude.
Oh, happy to be here.
I met Matt. The first time we met was in Indianapolis, I think.
Yes.
Yes. So we've known each other. We've probably known each other for like 5 or 6 years.
It's probably been 6 years now.
It's kind of crazy how fast that goes.
Yeah.
But you want to say so you, Matt, would you ever change to a Matthew?
No, I probably wouldn't.
Well-
I don't look like a Matthew. I look like a Matt. You know what I mean? Matthew
Yeah.
has his shit together, and I bowl. You know? No.
I would say, though, Matt sounds a little more adult. If it were Maddie, which that's
Maddie.
that's kind of where I'm coming from. Andy, now I'm just like, is this just too juvenile? Because it has that alliteration with my last name where it's like Andy Fiore.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm kind of getting tired of it.
So
and
you're
Andy,
like one Andrew.
I'm technically an Andrew, yes. Andrew
don't you
Fiore kind of
think-
sounds a little more pro.
And not to talk about like comedy business stuff, but Andy Fiore, the alliteration, don't you think it might help you out? Or you think Andrew Fiore sounds like a lawyer from New Jersey?
Maybe.
Or you have a book.
Yeah, be like the darkest light by Andrew Fiore.
I do have some friends that
Auburn
call
Breeze.
me. I have some friends that call me Maddie, though. I get that every once in a while.
Well, that's the thing.
That's
Everybody
usually
just-
out drinking, you know?
Yeah, Maddie. I probably even called you
Yeah, I
Maddie.
think so.
Yeah.
Everybody does call me Andy, or usually Fiore, actually, to be honest.
Fiore, but I'm saying like Andy Fiore, like you're in comedy, so
It sounds like a
sounds
famous
more.
name.
It does. It sounds more.
All right, we're changing back.
Because my name is both, one syllable. So my name kind of sucks because it doesn't roll very well.
And you don't want to go by Matthew Holt.
Yeah.
I know, but it actually...
Matthew Holt sounds like a kicker. For
And Maddie
a
Holt,
football team.
you don't look like a Maddie
I'm
Holt.
not
That's
Irish.
like a young
It sounds Irish,
millennial
right? Yeah.
douchebag.
Yeah, Maddie Holt.
Yeah, Matt just sounds like a guy who doesn't put his laundry away, which is me, so it's perfect.
Nailed it.
Absolutely.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does fit you well, Matt Holt. But then it's also, at least you can get like, but it's quick though. It's better than having a hard to spell name.
True.
You know
Right,
what I'm
right.
saying? So that's comedy business stuff. But I don't know. I think of you as Andy. I had a friend of mine. My friend Tom, I get mad at him all the time because he wasn't a Tommy or like
Right.
anything like that, but he changed. He's Thomas. So now if I go drinking
Yeah.
with him, like I go back home to Long Island, we go out for drinks, and he meets people that I know that he doesn't know. I'm like, hey, this is my friend Tom. He'll be like, it's Thomas actually, but thank you very
Oh,
much.
Oh, he corrects you?
No,
Yeah,
I would never
well,
do
yeah,
that.
he corrects me.
Well,
yeah.
that's a big Thomas move.
That's a very big Thomas
real
move.
Thomas.
Tommy wouldn't do that.
Tommy would not. Tommy's like, whatever. Let's go roll with the punches here. So, thank you so much for doing this.
No, thanks for having me.
Matt's situation does a lot of road. Works for actually, let's talk about it now. You work for a podcast network, actually.
Yeah.
Talk about it a little bit.
Sure. Last January I relocated to Frankfort, Kentucky, because that's the New York City of the Midwest, and I co-founded a podcast network. So it's a On Tour Comedy Podcast Network, and our sister company is On Tour Records, which we do a lot of work with Sirius.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So. We just I started launching these things. We built a studio. Everything's pretty cool. We've got a few podcasts that we've launched now. And,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And do you have a website for the podcast network?
OnTourComedy.com.
Awesome, yeah.
Nice.
And well, thanks for doing this. We are on showbrewstudios.com, which is another network here that our friend Alex runs. But thank you for doing the show. You're a pretty big movie guy. You look like a movie guy. Yeah, we've talked about it before.
Yeah.
And the matchup we have for today, I think. Did you see anything? Let me ask
did.
this. We usually say if we watched anything during the week. What did you watch this week?
2 flicks. One I absolutely adored, and one was such a piece of garbage.
I have a story like that too. Go ahead.
Mid-90s. Adored.
You adored it.
Loved it.
Well, I don't think I've ever heard you say the word adore before.
He's trying to be Andrew.
That's the Andrews.
That's an Andrew
That's
thing.
coming out.
Whereas Andy would say that's my criticism. Andrew says critique.
Andy says horse divorce. Andrew says hors d'oeuvre.
And Matt says keep them coming.
But here's the thing, man. Adore, I saw it and I liked the aesthetic of it because that was me in high school.
Yeah.
When I was about 70 pounds lighter and I skateboarded. That was my whole life in high
Same.
school. So the same scene. You had the same thing.
Yeah, we tried to be skateboarders. We weren't that good.
I was not that good. I had friends that were amazing.
We tried
I
to
sucked.
fake it. Yeah, we had like one kid, Tim O'Connor, who became like a professional
Oh my
skateboarder.
God.
Yeah.
I know you're
people
from
him.
Philly.
Yeah, no, well, he's from Morristown, New Jersey. But yeah.
Oh yeah, Tim O'Connor's
He
huge.
was like 2 years older than us and just was that kid who was immediately talented and doing tricks where you're like, holy shit.
He's a pro. I think he's
became
still a pro.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And also, we had one, but he was a little bit younger than me, and my friends hung out with him more than I did. Anthony Papalardo, who
I know that name.
You know that name, yeah. It's so funny because I know him as this like shy 14-year-old kid, and he's like, then he went on to being like this huge skateboarding pro.
Yeah.
I forget what company he was for, but so what happened?
The movie took place in 95, 96. You know, I was 16, 17 years old. We were the same
age,
essentially.
Yeah.
A grade apart. And so it hit home. Music hit home.
It
the
nailed
scene,
it.
the clothes, the vibe. Other than being in L.A. was the only difference for me, really. I mean, we were doing those same things in North New Jersey.
Yeah, we were actually emulating what L.A. was doing.
Right,
so, back in the day with skateboarding, we would get all the trends on the East Coast about like 6 months late, or 8 months late.
Wow.
So there used to be a big pants trend that jeans don't probably fit me now.
They were so...
they nailed it. But there used to be a giant jeans trend where like literally it would come over like a bell bottom over your shoe.
Jinkos.
But that was the look. It was just giant baggy jeans. We wore them like 6 months after the L.A. people did because we didn't know. Until you get the magazines, you don't know
right.
it's not cool anymore. And then tighter jeans got into fashion. So it was literally, they nailed every single part of it literally was like going back in time for if you skateboarded
So
in high school.
is it a documentary then?
No. It's Jonah Hill's movie he made.
Okay, yeah, I have heard of this.
It's scripted. It's
wrote and directed.
The movie itself, that's what I wanted to say. My opinion was, and I think I even talked about it on the podcast when I first saw it, the aesthetic of it, it was like more, I liked it as a snapshot of the time period. But the movie itself, it was a first try at a movie. I didn't think the movie didn't back itself up. If it didn't have that stuff, I would not have been as psyched on it.
All right, that's interesting because I enjoyed the family dynamic of it. The kid has a hard home life. You know, his older brother wails on him. And he's a single mom.
It gets dark.
And he's a young kid. He's trying to find his way, and he finds these kids, and then there's mom embarrasses him, and and then there's this, he hooks up with girls and he's getting drunk for the first time.
Yeah.
I just loved that story, and the kid was such a fucking good little actor, man.
He was good
really
at it.
Pulled it off well.
It was like L.A. Remember Kids? It was like Kids, but for L.A.
Yeah, it was. That was going to be my one kind of fallback, was that it was very kidsy, and
actually
you can tell Jonah Hill grew up watching Kids, and was heavily inspired by it. But there were some things I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it, because I would say go watch it. But there are some kind of cliche stuff and things that happen. But it was a good movie. I really liked it. I don't know. I watched it. I was like, that was great. I adored it.
Yeah, I adore this. I just picture you like olive oil, just with your hands folded up to the movie,
stroking a cat,
fanning myself. I enjoy this. Oh, you're flush.
I'm flush.
Just
right
you
before
and
you got the vapors.
You in your pajamas watching mid-90s.
My nightgown.
You with a mid-90s poster in your room with a heart around it. What you call? But what was the one you hated?
I saw Cam, a Netflix original movie. It's about cam girls, and it's kind of tries to be a horror, not a horror, but like a thriller, suspense. And it was just somebody asked me to watch it for another podcast. I'm going on the road, and this kid asked me to do his podcast.
So I watched it for that.
And man, tough sit. I wanted to be a good soldier and see the whole thing.
Did you watch the whole thing?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing.
Wow.
But there was points where it was like, I checked the clock. I'm like, 20 minutes left.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a bad sign.
It was bad. Yeah.
I feel like that's the downside maybe of Netflix taking over, is that you can do that. Because I've done that before with movies. Even if I was on a schedule, even if I was enjoying it, I'm like, ooh, how much more can I watch?
Yeah.
So, but if you don't like it, you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, I'll just turn it off.
Yeah, we don't have to spend some time on that at all. Don't watch it. It was brutal. Some titties in it, I guess. Just the one takeaway.
I think that's kind of the appeal. Was it supposed to be like a throwback, like Russ Myers situation where it was
not even. It was just like, I even felt like for cam girls, I was like, this is even very light for what you would normally see on like a cam girl website.
Oh, sure.
It was the one good thing it did had Melora Walters in it, who is well known for her stuff in P.T. Anderson films. She plays
yes.
She plays
I know,
Bert's girlfriend,
the blonde, right?
Yeah.
She's
And
greght.
She's also in Magnolia. She plays the
strung out, the daughter of the game show host.
She plays the mother of but.
Well, yeah, that's
her for that.
But you know what? You take a risk on the. I tell you, man, Netflix does not have a great track record with these original movies.
No,
because I watched. Didn't we both watch Bright? Bright with
no, I didn't see Bright with Will Smith.
I could not get into that either. And so many people talk so many great things about it.
Yes.
And I think people just like anything Will Smith does.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
I think you're right.
People love him.
He's so lovable. Because even Suicide Squad, they were like, well, Will was great, but the movie was garbage. I never saw Suicide Squad purposely because of how bad people said it was.
Yeah.
I watched it on a 13-hour flight back from the Middle East, and still... You could have put anything in front of me on that flight, and I would have been like, this is great. And even then...
See, that's how bad it was. They're doing a... who's the character? What's her name? Plays Margot Robbie.
She plays...
Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn. They're doing a Harley Quinn movie.
Which makes total sense.
That's
and
okay.
also might
she
be,
was good.
What?
She was the shining light.
I saw her scenes, and I was like, she seems
just good.
Yeah. Did you watch anything this week, Matt?
I did. I saw Netflix, what was it? The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Oh, we talked about it on the show before.
I don't know how I feel about it yet. I'm serious.
Well, but Matt, I had that initial reaction too. If you go back and listen to Defend Your Movie podcast number 82, I don't know. I initially was like, yeah, I loved more some of the stories a lot more than the others. But then on a rewatch, I gave it a rewatch, and I just fell in love with it like I did every other Coen.
I need to watch it again because the problem I have is anything I watch on Netflix, if I haven't seen it before, it's distracted viewing for me.
Totally.
I mean, it's just I'm not focused.
You got your phone in your hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay.
Or I'll get up and go take the trash out.
That's a movie. You have to make a
whatever.
decision to sit down and watch it.
Right.
And it's long.
So,
it is long.
Yeah.
No.
So I need to revisit it because I love the Coens.
The Coens are unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's what we're Coen Apollo.
Huge.
We like anything the Coens do. You know?
Well, I didn't like Hail Caesar.
I didn't either. I didn't like Hail Caesar.
That might deserve
We don't
a
like
rewatch,
anything. I'm exaggerating. I didn't like Intolerable Cruelty either. I didn't like that either.
Yeah.
I think if I watched Burn After Reading again, I think I would enjoy it.
I really like that.
Buster Scruggs, I would have rewatched the whole thing. I just couldn't take how brutal the Liam Neeson one is at the end. That ending of that one is so. I got up to that point in the rewatch, and I was like, I can't even take that scene. I'm just going to wait and rewatch.
I think my favorite part of that whole movie was Stephen Root as the bank teller.
He's great.
He
was amazing.
Handshot.
Yeah,
he's
good in anything he does.
That was amazing.
And he's good in any, even in No Country. He's great in No Country.
Yeah.
He nails whatever it's supposed to be.
Was that Pine?
I think
There
it's
it
Oak.
is.
There it is. We have a Seinfeld reference every. I think it's Oak. What is it? He says, he goes, yeah, it's pretty nice.
I think of Sean. Every time I'm at home and I get ready to leave and I can't find my wallet. And I mean, like, my wallet. I always think of Sean.
Oh, that's so funny.
We have been drunk at a club, yelling, "My wallet's gone," and it's one of my favorite things.
Me and Sean have just gotten into between the 11 and 12 p.m. hour on Channel 11.
Channel 11 plays 2 episodes of Seinfeld.
Yeah.
And it's been going on for like 30 years. Like, it's been that hour, right? Since I was a kid. Well, since it went to syndication. So lately we just happen to be home at the same time, so we'll text like, he's like, yeah, I'm watching it too. It's right there.
I'm such a huge Seinfeld fan that in the morning when I shower, I play it on my Bluetooth speaker while I'm showering.
I like that.
I go to Hulu and I just play it.
Just play episodes.
That's funny. I've never done that in the shower. Yeah. I have done that on long road trips in the car, like going from gig to gig.
On your phone?
I've played like American Dad episodes just to hear it.
Yeah.
Just for change it up.
But Seinfeld, we've seen them so much.
You don't need to see it.
That's a great idea.
And
it's a great idea.
You know how weird it is? It's kind of this Inception kind of thing where I'm taking a shower and it's the episode where Kramer installs
that's so funny.
the garbage disposal in his shower.
Yeah.
He's like working on his shower routine.
He's going to the circus to watch elephants.
I love how Putty just goes, what do you got, a Clarkman? Because he knows on the typo. I'll come over later, I'll walk you through it.
The best is when they have the air conditioner and he comes and he goes, the Commando 8 has arrived.
He just plugs it install.
It's so funny.
We did a Celebrate episode of Seinfeld.
Just Seinfeld stuff.
His
It was great.
SM show was great. We could easily do 2 or 3 more of those Celebrate Seinfeld just again and again.
I love it.
I'll just redo it. I don't care.
Exactly.
But no, I saw a couple things, but I have kind of a similar situation you had.
Oh, cool.
I rewatched Hell or High Water. You've seen it.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it too.
Dude, it's in my top. It's so funny because I wrote online. I wrote Hell or High Water. I took a picture screenshot on Instagram. I go, it's in my top 5. And then Andy writes, you have like 20 movies in your top 5.
I kind of have that too.
We're all guilty of that. I do the same thing.
But
I got to get you to see Network, man.
I'll check.
Amazing.
Yeah. Networks I just have never saw
It's
it. But Hell or High Water. That guy, St. Germain told me he thinks he likes Wind River better, which is the same director.
I liked Wind River a lot, but
Better than Hell or High Water.
No,
I don't like it
it's
better.
not better.
Don't sleep on Wind River. It's a very good movie.
It's fantastic, but Hell or High Water is like amazing. It's almost like a Coen.
It's very Coen.
It's very Coen-ish,
Yes.
but still its own thing.
Yeah.
You know what? For me, it's a mix. It's a mix of the Coen movies and Road to Perdition with Tom Hanks.
Oh, sure.
Oh,
Very
sure.
similar to that to me.
Was that
And
Newman's
Road
last?
to Perdition, what?
That might have been Newman's last film.
It was.
Yeah, I think so.
It was. And Road to Perdition, I thought, kind of has a thing out there, like a lot of people didn't like it, right? But I think we looked up the scoring on it, and it did really well.
Was that what
Tomatoes.
Alan Ball was?
I think he might have wrote it. Did
Yeah,
Alan
yeah.
Ball write it?
I think so. But
Yeah.
people don't like to see Tom Hanks not as a good guy.
Right.
I know.
That's the thing. I mean, he's pretty despicable in that.
But he's technically a. He's technically a good
He's
guy.
a good guy, but-
It's a road to perdition. It's the road.
Yeah, right.
He's kind of like making himself better
Right.
in the movie. You know.
Yeah.
It's Sam Mendes directed it.
Oh, that's
it's his,
right. I knew it was-
It's his movie he did right after American Beauty. I'm pretty sure.
I
Yes,
bet
yes,
if
that's
you
it.
look at that, if you compare
David
that
Self wrote it,
movie
not Alan Ball.
and Larry Crown, I bet Larry Crown has a higher Rotten Tomatoes rating than Road to Perdition.
Really?
Or at least audience rating.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now.
I mean, Larry Crown, which by the way is a guilty pleasure. I think the movie is really good.
I think I've only seen it once.
I saw it in the theater and I will
Isn't the
watch
Larry
it.
Crown Affair? Is that what it is? No,
no,
Larry
that's
Crown.
2 different things.
No,
That
Larry
is a
Crown
movie.
Yeah, Larry Crown. That's Thomas Crown Affair.
Thomas Crown Affair. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, Larry Crown is Tom Hanks and Julia Roberts, where he gets downsized at like a super center store, and then he goes to community college.
Oh.
And she's his instructor.
Wait, I don't think I've ever seen this.
It's all right.
It's hokey and everything else, and I still love it.
Well, but that's another thing where it's like Tom Hanks. Can he do anything wrong? Because even Castaway was on the other day, and I'm like, even this is unbelievable.
I still haven't seen Castaway.
Well, Matt, you
really.
are,
Oh, you love it.
I know. I just haven't watched it.
you're completely wrong.
Damn it.
Larry Crown has an atrocious Rotten Tomatoes
What is
score.
it?
It's not a good movie. It's 36%, 80% for Road
But
to
what's
What
the,
year
what's
did
the
it come
critic
out?
rating?
Metacritic.
Or not the critic, the audience.
80 something he said, but that's always by
Right.
Audience score for Road to Perdition is 86. It goes
Yeah,
up.
okay. Yeah.
All right.
And,
And the critic score on Road to Perdition.
hold on, I got to type.
Sorry.
No, that was Road to Perdition.
Oh,
Joking on the typing. 36% Rotten Tomatoes, 41% shoots
All
up
right.
to
Well,
audience.
I'll take off. What do I know?
I think it's just not a great movie.
well, I have
It's
to.
definitely
I would
not a
check
great
it out
movie.
though. But you know how many times there's been like
I sat through it though at home.
How many times people go, I don't like this movie, and I watched it you know what got panned when it first came out, and we mentioned this before, I think, was Lebowski.
Oh, yeah,
when it
yeah,
came
well,
out,
really panned.
Yeah.
it was barely in the movies. I missed seeing it in the movies, but it was a typo, and I went all the way to the movie theater. Like,
You know
oh, no,
what?
it's
We were
gone.
still in the summer blockbuster. There was Lebowski was 97, 98. We were still in the Armageddon, the big studio blockbusters.
But
People didn't know how to to deal with critically acclaimed movies.
Why wouldn't they? What do you
They
mean?
just didn't. It just was that time.
And the Coens weren't really known. I mean, Raising Arizona was probably their biggest hit. Prior to that.
Fargo was done by that point.
Yeah,
After Fargo, it
but
might have been right after Fargo. Maybe that's
it was
why.
after Fargo.
That might
but
be why.
Maybe.
Because you Fargo
Yeah.
and you followed up with that, they're like, wait, what is this thing? They didn't
Right.
realize it was like this absurdist. I think it was. I've heard that it's. I don't know the name of the group of novels. It's based on some group of novels where the lead detective, who's supposed to be like Lebowski, solves a case without even realizing it. That's what happens in Lebowski. Just by accident,
Right.
everything just falls into place.
See, that's the movie that I saw that in the theater, and
Yeah.
that is the movie that made me seek out small weird movies.
Right.
Because I'd never seen anything like it,
Right.
and I loved it immediately. And then after that, then I started looking at that instead of the Armageddons and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe that's what it was then. Back then, that was like the independents were still independent.
Yeah, you just got
now
so
independents
saturated.
are mainstream. So and you forget it now because it's so commonplace that independents become like the big movie.
And you know what?
Even critically or Oscar wise.
I bet it was probably critically acclaimed at the time. This is you don't.
It wasn't.
Well, and I don't mean.
I mean the reviews.
Like the big awards and all that stuff, because I don't think the Coens just ever give a shit about awards. Like,
no,
there's a whole aspect of like you got to push and you got to almost like
play the game,
advertise your movie for awards or nominations or anything like that. I don't think the Coen Brothers just really do that. I could be wrong, but I don't think they do.
I think that sometimes these people pretend that they don't, but they do. I think they're in it. I think they've been in Hollywood long enough where it's like it's a thing. It's like even the whole look at the Good Will Hunting story. That's not them. That's Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. But that was a narrative. That whole thing, from what I've heard, that's why they have that Mindy Kaling. Mindy Kaling did a play called Matt and Ben, where apparently, like in the play, the script for Good Will Hunting falls out of the sky because the real story behind that is that I don't know if you know this. I think I've said this before in the show. It was a spy thriller.
Right.
They wrote a spy thriller script for Good Will Hunting, but then they went to Rob Reiner and James L. Brooks, and they were like, no, and they kept going, no, not to take this out, do this, blah blah. So there's like 20 drafts.
Oh wow!
But what they came up with was remarkable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you can't. It's like as long as the finished product, but you're not like they're not churning out some. But it probably helped them as artists as well. You know what I mean?
I won't sit here and listen to you disparage my close personal friend Matt Damon.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. No, I feel like, but I think he's great. I like Matt Damon a lot. And so I watched Hell or High Water. I rewatched it, and God, man, I just love it. And I think anytime I think I'm not at this point the first time I watched it, but I don't know if I did on the show or not. Chris Pine. He's like a heartthrob guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think it's time we have to realize that Chris Pine's a really good actor.
He's a great actor.
Really good actor, and like isn't just some pretty boy like famous movie star. Because even in Horrible Bosses 2, super funny. Wonder Woman, he's good in that. That's like the heartthrobby type thing. Right. And then this, he just becomes this grizzled like badass, and you're like, oh yeah, dude, you have range, so you got this.
He's good.
Well, it's Ben Foster too, who's just
unbelievable,
great in everything.
Great in everything.
Yeah.
Ben Foster, Matt, and there is a thing in actors where, and I've said this before, where they choose their path. I think Ben Foster's doing that.
Oh, I think so.
I think because of what he's done in the past, he's been offered X, Y, and Z, and he probably has turned down X and Y.
Yeah,
I guarantee you. Because that happens. I've said this before. That happens with these guys. And he's keeping... Also, I don't think he's on social media. You never really see that many interviews with this guy. I think he's keeping that mystique of...
He's one of those guys. It's like I put Jesse Plemons on the same goal as him. Same category.
Yeah,
like everything they do is fantastic.
And the acting comes first, but it's not in a corny way where you're like, it's my process. They just do the job.
Yeah,
it's that kind of thing. It's like the comics that you know that aren't famous, but they're just solid, unbelievable comics.
Right.
You know. And then the other thing that was my bad side of what I watched was, and I tried my best, man. I turned it off. Super Troopers 2.
I'm on record of not even really enjoying the first one.
I did not like it either.
Really?
Thank you.
I liked the first one.
Nope.
The first one's funny, man. It's silly funny.
It doesn't do it for me.
What I hated even more than Super Troopers was then working with those guys in clubs.
Oh,
really?
And then just idiots in the crowd just yelling the lines out.
While you're up there.
Yeah. It's fucking terrible.
I can't imagine those guys being decent stand-ups.
No, they're not. They're improv guys.
Nice guys, though.
Nice enough.
Nice enough.
But I worked with Dave Koechner, and he's amazing. And the same kind of thing happens. They yell out, it's a whammy and all that kind of stuff.
God.
But he's so cool about it, and he's a great performer, too.
And he must have comebacks.
Oh, he's fantastic.
But they don't. Do the Broken Lizard guys, do they have comebacks for it or no?
No, they just encourage it more because it just stretches the show.
They love it.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Why not just do that?
And on a totally offset, me and Sean, we walked so far last week. Remember, and we walked right by the I Am Legend apartment.
The
building.
house, yeah.
Oh, wow. I literally caught
it's right down by West 4th Street. If you come by West Village, I'll show you.
Okay, cool.
It's right next to the arches. The arch.
The big When Harry Met Sally arch.
Yeah.
It was on like the day after, I was just like, weird. It was one of those weird things.
That's weird.
This happens to me a lot with Seinfeld, too. I'll say, like, a Seinfeld quote during the day, and then that episode will be on that night. And I'll be like, well, hey, weird.
It's a weird universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
So I Am Legend was on the next day?
Yeah, it was just randomly on.
And you saw the house,
Yeah,
like,
it was
oh,
just
shit,
like, well,
there
now
it
I got to
is.
stick it out for the...
Because you can't miss it. It's
Yeah.
still there.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
outside
it looks
still looks the
identical.
same. It looks the same. It's not like one of those things where they painted it or they rebuilt something or they, that whole area.
There has to be a New York City movie.
There is.
Walking tours.
I got to do that next time.
There's it breaks down by genre too. You can go to like all the mob sites. You
Cool.
can. There's so many.
Well, we talked about it before. Across from where we tape, where we are right now,
Yeah, big site.
is 7B.
The
Which
Horseshoe
is
Bar.
a Horseshoe Bar, which is just this old school looking brick bar.
Yeah.
It's on the corner of 7th Street and Avenue B. And it's been in Crocodile Dundee, Godfather.
Famously Godfather Part 2. It's got the 2 double doors that are arched.
yeah.
It's where
and
the
it's unmistakable.
Michael Corleone says hello in
Yes.
the choke scene.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's just that alone is that one spot where they filmed a million
Yeah.
things, But Super Troopers, you didn't like the first one?
No.
You either,
Nope.
huh? Really?
Daddy.
You just thought it was you just thought it was dumb or what?
Yeah,
It just didn't work.
Yeah,
for me.
it didn't
was
work
just
for me. I don't
was
know
like,
why.
I get it. I mean,
It's just not that high level of a comedy, I don't think.
I think this. I don't think this is why I liked it. I think at the time I liked it. Maybe I just thought it was enjoyable to watch because the more I think back to it, but I remember laughing. I think the Farva stuff was funny in the first one. But you don't like the line where he goes, they say they delouse him, they put the stuff on him, and he goes sorry about the delousing, and he goes, it's powdered sugar, it's delicious. I don't know. I thought it was fun. I thought it was really funny. You guys suck, man. You're purposely not. You know that's a funny scene.
I don't know. It's been years since I've seen it.
Well, also that's what's crazy about this. Like, I think it came out in 2001, and this one just came out 2017 or something.
Although our buddy Graham Kay, I heard, is in Super Troopers too.
I didn't see him when I was.
Oh, okay.
I wonder if I saw him and I didn't realize it. Did he have makeup on and stuff? But
Anyway.
I couldn't even. And maybe my sense of humor's changed. Maybe that's it.
No,
maybe
it's
if I
probably
watch
just them.
What?
I think it's just them.
No, but I mean, as far as the first one goes, if I rewatched it, would I enjoy it?
Yeah,
okay,
that happens.
what year did the first one come out?
2001.
Okay.
Yeah.
That kind of thing can't
It can't.
marinate for 15 years.
No, you're
it
right.
just can't.
But it was almost like it was impressive because those guys were outside the Hollywood system and they got this big movie.
Yeah, I mean, and I can appreciate that, but I think what I hated as much as the movie are all the idiots that then it became their Bible.
Yeah.
That kind of
Totally.
stuff. And I run into that with music, like, Jimmy Buffett fans are hard to deal with. And
Yeah.
that kind of shit.
Where it becomes
So-
the thing, yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's a perfect segue because we have two comedies that we're matching up against each other today. For the meat and potatoes part of the podcast, we had a big debate about if I can say meat and potatoes or just meat. But
No,
nobody
don't
wants
let Craig Stone get his virus into this podcast anymore.
Today, we're going to have two very, I think,
Huge.
classic comedies that do hold up and that, we can talk about what they've created over the past 20 years as well. We're doing Old School versus
Step Brothers.
Step Brothers. And it's funny because every time we come up with this, sometimes it's always last minute, and if it's two movies we know a lot about, we can just jump right into it. And I know I've seen both of those movies so much.
Yeah, I've seen both of them recently.
Yeah,
I've seen
Step
Step
Brothers is on a
Brothers
lot.
recently. What?
Step Brothers is on a lot.
It is on a lot.
So is Old School, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Matt
Holt.
our friend Matty Holt is going to take
I'll take
Old School.
Yeah.
School.
Old School, without question, you take Old School.
Absolutely.
All right.
And you
good.
brought up, and I want him to say his first point because we can get into a discussion about that. And it was good right away.
Yeah.
What'd you tell me before?
Vince Vaughn owns the film. I'll put it above Swingers for Vince Vaughn.
You put it above Swingers for Vince Vaughn?
Yes.
I don't know if I would disagree with that.
Just earmuffs.
So
just
let me just say
earmuffs
this. You're Step Brothers without a doubt.
I'm
Right.
Step Brothers without a doubt.
All right, so I'm going to kind of play intermediary this week.
Okay.
I think, because I love them both so much. So I'm going to let you guys kind of, and I'll jump in where I see fit because I agree with Matt right off the top. I think Vince Vaughn, that might have been his peak.
Yeah. And also, think about this. If you take the entire Step Brothers movie, which I think is fantastic, Will Ferrell's dart in the next scene is funnier than anything in Step Brothers.
That is, yeah.
Yeah, Vince Vaughn. That's one person in this movie. that one scene, there's funnier scenes. The interview scene in Step Brothers is freaking hilarious.
Yes.
When he's behind him the whole time and he has the tuxedos. Now, Vince Vaughn, I don't know if it's his peak. I think Vince Vaughn's the kind of thing, if you put him in anything, because even The Breakup is amazing. I love The Breakup.
No.
Everybody hates The Breakup. I love The Breakup. I think them playing video games to me is as funny as anything Vince Vaughn does in any movie.
I think what was after.
So if you take that, it's an interchangeable thing. But then you take that, then it
he
screws
does
up
play
the whole...
a version of himself in every movie, yes.
Right.
But there's a few, like Dodgeball, he just kind of phones in that Vince Vaughn character. You know what I mean? Where, what Matt's saying, this is really, he's just banging on all cylinders.
Yeah.
And I think we first initially saw Vince Vaughn being Vince Vaughn in Swingers, and then he found his groove in Old School.
Yeah, Vince Vaughn in Swingers was still kind of that smarmy thing that not everyone got behind him and liked him. Yeah, but in Old School, everyone loved him. It was a turning point for that character.
Like, because that's what happened. That whole crew, that's what another thing I was going to say is this. Like, you can almost... It's almost a point for you guys or for Matt, because you couldn't have Step Brothers without Old School. Like, Old School started that weird, like, Will Ferrell universe of comedies. So, like, it was weird enough that things just kept getting weirder and weirder.
Well, it was also kind of the beginning of the Todd Phillips run, too.
Yeah, Todd Phillips was a documentary.
Yeah, you wouldn't have Hangover if it wasn't for that. I guess you're right. But I'll tell you, another thing is this, like, the things that are going on now, like, you didn't see, Will Ferrell didn't really team up with any of those other guys, but he teams up with John C. Reilly in multiple movies.
And this was the first.
And that was the first. That's what I'm saying. It was such a big deal for them.
Yeah, sure.
And I liked it because I think I liked Step Brothers because it was weirder. It has Richard Jenkins in it, who's unbelievable.
Yes,
I love Richard Jenkins. And he's amazing.
He is amazing.
And Mary Steenburgen, who I had a crush on, like, not that long ago. Just because Back to the Future 3, how can you have a crush on Mary Steenburgen?
I met her once, and she would only confirm your crush. She's as sweet as
I bet
pie.
she would be.
That's
Just a lovely woman.
Yeah.
Just Andy hanging out with freaking Matt Damon and Mary Steenburgen.
It was that serious.
Who do you have more of a crush on, Matt Damon or
Matt Damon?
No, but what I'm trying to say is that, like, I think Old School to me. I don't think. I think if I watched, maybe that's another big point. My point I'm trying to make. If I watch both of them now, I laugh harder at Step Brothers than I laugh at Old School, and maybe because I've seen Old School too many times back in the day. But I think that also I think it's just so ridiculous. There's more jokes per capita because it's so true. Insanely.
What's also it doesn't have a story. You know, it's a bunch. I agree. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It is definitely. There are more laughs in it because there's not a thematic story that runs through the whole thing.
Step Brothers, the best thing John C. Reilly's done. We're talking about peaks. Best thing he's done.
Oh, Boogie Nights.
That's true. You know what? I would put for individual achievement for John C. Reilly.
Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights.
All right, fine. Boogie Nights.
But I will. This
best
is
comedy he's done. Can
this
you give
is
me
something that you can get a point
Agreed.
for, though. The kind of the variable for Step Brothers is Catherine Hahn. She's absolutely
great.
amazing.
She's unbelievable.
She's great in everything.
Old School does have the side great. Both movies have great side cast members. You know, you have the whole frat. You got little tiny jokes within the frat. You got Blue.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Old School actually does have one of my favorite lines where he's like, who's not Eddie Brill? Eddie Pepitone's like, you work at Red Lobster. He's like, it's part-time, dick. All right. You might be convincing me as we're going.
No, I mean, Vince Vaughn.
I might have made a mistake on this one.
Vince Vaughn does carry the not the film. He doesn't carry the film, but he really is banging.
Well, I also think that Old School might be more quotable.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you guys. I was like, what's the more quotable? I think Old School has it on quotability.
Yeah.
Well, Step Brothers has... What does Step Brothers have? He's like, can we make our beds? No, there's really no... You're right.
There's so much room for activities.
Yeah, that's the line. That's the quote.
Which one?
So much more room for activities.
Yeah. And did we just become best friends?
Don't you feel like...
No power tools.
Don't you feel like... What was more riffing? I think Step Brothers is probably more riffing than
I think,
Old School.
because those guys are more come from that school.
Yeah, that's how Adam McKay writes, too. So there's...
Yeah.
I will say you that I don't know if this matters at all, but I saw both of them in the theater. I took to Old School way more than I did Step Brothers. I remember seeing Step Brothers in the theater and being like, yeah, that was okay. And then it only upon repeated watching is when I fell in love with it.
Well, also, Old School
was good right off the bat, I thought.
It's relatable. It's way more. We all know people like that.
Old School?
Yes.
Yeah,
you don't know anyone like Step. I mean, Step Brothers was so over the top.
Well, Step Brothers,
and it's a great movie.
Old School was more appealing to like more people too when it came out, like it being in college,
and it survived having Luke Wilson, who's the weakest part of that movie.
Yeah, he did.
But he was the Bud Abbott. He was the straight guy.
But anyone else plays that part, the movie is the same. He's not adding texture. I'd rather see it with Owen Wilson, to be honest.
But he's never been a comic, right?
Right.
He was a fine straight man.
If Owen Wilson was in it, then he would have his own comedy. Like there's no comedy of Luke Wilson in that movie.
No. Well, he does that toast to the wedding. Where he talks about, you come home on the red eye and you walk into your house.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's got some funny lines.
He has like
in there.
straight man lines that are kind of funny.
Yes.
But Step Brothers has Rob Riggle.
Step Brothers has Rob Riggle.
I don't know if that's a selling point or not.
Pow. I think.
Also, I think they might not be able to. I think you might be convincing me that Old School is just a way better movie.
Well, no. It's not a way better movie.
I don't think it's way better.
It's better.
I think Old School is more quotable.
I think when you have Step Brothers, you have a public that's so in tune with comedy. The fact that Dane Cook is a punchline in Step Brothers,
right?
It shows that people their sense of humor has changed by the time that's over.
Pay-per-view, 10 minutes.
Eric Scott is amazing.
He's out of control.
The acapella "Sweet Child of Mine"
is so good. And he's correcting them as they go.
Old School did give birth to a whole bunch of douchebags quoting Will Ferrell. Just that "You My Boy Blue" and just the whole
See, that's the point against it.
So good when it hits your lips. I heard so many fucking awful douchebag frat guys in bars say that for years after, and they're just like, "You're making me not like that movie."
Yeah, that's what happens. I think that's a minus for Old School.
Yeah.
But Step Brothers, was there any lines that did that for Step Brothers?
There's only a couple. I mean, there's only a couple lines that are quotable. It's the room for activities. It's the did we just become best friends?
Yeah, did we just become best friends?
And that's about it, really. I mean,
yeah, you're right.
I mean, there just isn't. But it's
I don't know, man. Step Brothers has a lot of weird stuff too. It's like the only '80s Billy Joel band is so funny. Yeah, where Horatio Sands, they're calling out for Billy Joel hits. He's like, "Yeah, we do. We don't do that, man." He's getting angry.
How about this? Best thing Horatio Sands has done. I'm just reaching for straws here at this point. How about top of the line Horatio Sands performance?
I will say this movie reminds me of something that makes me laugh hard every time. It's not about the movie. It's about my brother.
Why was that?
So my brother, who is a great guy, he is. Anytime I would mention this movie, I'd say, "You've seen Step Brothers, right?" And his response is, "I own it." Like the DVD is hard to come by, like it's uranium.
I get that, though. I understand that. I completely understand that.
I mean, he's had it, but he's never watched it.
No. Of course I've seen it.
I own it.
I
thought you meant like
that's how
I
much
own it, but
like
haven't
it.
watched it.
No.
Yeah.
Like indignant, like. Yeah, you
of
idiot.
Course, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I had the reverse.
I owned $5.
I owned The Good Shepherd on DVD at the end of DVDs, and with Matt Damon, The Good Shepherd, your boy Matt Damon, and Good Shepherd, and I never opened it. It was in the plastic.
You might have made the right decision. Well, I mean, so I was the same way when I moved. I didn't want to take DVDs with me and books, so I donated everything. So I'm at a half-price books in the Midwest, and I have this box full of DVDs, and about 2/3 of them are still the shrink wrap on them.
Yeah, right.
And making eye contact with that person, I'm like, I'm disposable income, I guess. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with me. Just put these back on the shelf.
I thought I needed Big Top Pee Wee at the time.
Right.
Well, you know what's crazy is like now. When I see the DVD, or you don't even see the DVD section, you see the Blu-ray section. I don't even. What are they? How much are they? I think I think what they do is they add a bunch of stuff to them, so they can still charge $10, like $10. But I don't see anybody ever in the Blu-ray section like we got to get
that alone is what's made Best Buy almost go out of business.
Oh sure.
Yeah.
Why? What are you going there for?
What you go for wires? You go for Ethernet wires. You go for whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think this is a very quick battle, but I think you might have convinced me. It edges it out. It's got more quotable.
Flip test. Is it if
both
it,
of them?
I'm
going back. Who am I going back for faster?
On, are you going to watch it? Are you going to watch the whole thing if it's on?
You know what? I do that with both. Honestly,
what do you go back to faster?
I don't leave either of them.
Oh, you don't leave either.
I would sit there. I would use the commercial as a chance to go do whatever I need to do and come back.
Yeah.
I don't flip off of either of those.
I go back. I probably am. Who are you more excited to see? I think Step Brothers. I'm more excited to see. But now, recently, it's been on so much.
Bulk of.
I'm more excited about.
I'm just thinking.
To be honest, you know
more
what? No, Step Brothers, because Old School was on the other day, and I didn't go back to it. So that I literally have a real life example of. I think
I go back to both. I think they both pass for me. I go back to each.
What do you now? They're both on right now. What are you more excited to see? Right now. I know it doesn't mean it doesn't
I think
clinch.
Step Brothers.
That's
because
what I'm saying.
It's a little new. I know Old School's so good, but then is that because I love it more? I don't need to see it as much.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
I just remembered a hilarious line, and it's so small, but it's just Will Ferrell when he's got kicked out of his house and he's staying with Luke Wilson, and he's got the blow up doll, and he's like he's switching. He's like, "What do you guys like, the French maid or the nurse?" And the woman comes up, and she's like, "Hey Frank, nice doll," and he's like, "Yeah, she's okay."
Yeah. All right, I think you might have. I think you really beat my ass on this one, Matt. You win, my friend.
Scratch the surface of the dart scene too, which is
that's amazing.
The dart scene is like such a classic scene. You're right. It had Sean William Scott.
Who's very funny in that small role too.
He's harassing the
jerks the chin.
And not funny at all in Super Troopers 2. Supposed to be, I think, like a cameo, and just not funny at all.
Well, just the bread maker. How he just keeps regifting the bread.
You're right. Yeah, there's more stuff.
And the scene with at the party where Vince Vaughn is dressed as the clown. It's just ridiculous. He's sitting there with his leg crossed on a lawn chair, dressed as a clown,
smoking a cigarette.
Yeah. I love it.
You're breaking the fourth wall, Spanish.
I think that you really kind of clinched it.
Real tight race, though.
The more, you know what it is? It's more talkable. Like, it's more quotable. Like, as you're talking about the scenes, I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, shit. Like,
I think it casts
more into it.
I'll say this, if this makes sense. I think Step Brothers is conceptually or visually funnier. You know what I mean? Like, there's funnier bits, maybe not necessarily quotable, whereas, like, you could rattle off things from Old School. That does not take away from Step Brothers at all.
If you really want to turn off your brain, you watch both of them, but if you want to turn off you watch Step Brothers, you're like, this is so dumb that I love it.
Exactly. Yes. You can't quote like the scenes where it's just a montage of them exacting revenge on each other, like the scars in his neck. Yeah. Like, there's not quotable. Right. And it's just like
or they're doing it on Adam Scott, and they're like, and they have the Nazi and the and that's hey, hi neighbors, when he's like, they're saying like the people seeing the house.
Step Brothers does have a hilarious original song, the rap song on the boat.
That's true.
That's right.
Goes
pretty
a long
great.
Way.
I'm on a boat, motherfuckers.
The
Nina.
So
the Pinta. That's what I'm saying. It's like this like weird. It's way more absurdist than like Old School is like straight up funny, and then Step Brothers like the what is it called, the wine challenge? That was the
Catalina wine mixer.
Catalina wine mixer, and he's like, it's the Catalina fucking wine mixer. Like just that is so dumb.
Helicopter rental.
There are certain parts of that movie, like the fact that John C. Reilly refers to the bully as Mr. So-and-so is fucking great. I mean, just little things.
Oh, the kid?
Yeah.
That's
hilarious.
Just leave us alone, Mr. whatever his name was. That's hysterical to me.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, I'm willing to say this is a draw.
Well, this is what happens a lot of times, Matt, is you argue against a movie you also love.
Yeah, so it's like you're coming on the side. But I think we realize, like, I think Old School is better overall because it's more liked in, like, the lexicon. Of like, it's more liked in history. Like, history, it's far enough along in history that more people dig Old School than dig. And I realized, as we're talking about it, I'm like, oh, yeah, I laughed harder at Old School, I think.
Step Brothers misses out on those people that don't like absurdity.
Yeah,
exactly. What brings it back to my point is, on repeated viewings, I was like, this is fucking brilliant. Whereas in the theater, I was like, "Oh, Old School's hilarious right away." You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. But I still think, I think Old School edges it out because I think they're both great.
I think so. I think we came to a decision.
Thank you so much. Right, but as we're talking about it, I'm like, I love that. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and that's way more quotable. And they have this guy, they have that. Like the cast is better.
All great, both great casts.
Both great casts, but like,
great
as far
directors.
as funnier casts,
great directors.
And it was also kind of the beginning for both directors, really. It was really what launched both of them into amazing careers.
And now you have, what's his name, doing the Joker?
Yeah, and Adam McKay
he's doing Joker
for an Oscar.
Todd Phillips is doing that Joker.
Really?
Yeah.
With Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, he's already won an Oscar, Adam McKay.
Well, did you see Vice? Did you see Vice?
No, I haven't.
Did you like it? I've heard mixed reactions.
Yes and no. There's certain things that I thought I didn't care for, but it was
We're going to do an Oscars episode coming up once it gets closer to the air date.
We should watch all of them.
Yeah,
we
should do a Defend Your Movie, Ocean's 11 versus 13.
Oh, that's so funny you said that.
So weird.
12 out of it.
That's so bizarre. That was exactly what I saw. That came up on our text chain today.
That came up on our text chain today. Yeah.
I swear to God.
I should have told you that.
We just did Ocean's 11, though.
I love both of those movies.
We just did Ocean's 11 versus Catch Me If You Can.
Oh, wow. That had to be Ocean's 11.
Thank you.
Ocean's 11.
Who argued against?
No,
what? Feeney argued against.
Feeney argued. Yeah, this guy Mike Feeney argued.
Absolutely not.
What would you take? 11 versus 13. What would you?
11.
We can just do it now. A mini one
11.
right now. 11. What would you take?
I'd maybe take 13.
You would take 13.
13
yeah, there's something about it.
No.
Ruling.
No way. The gags are way better.
Too many twists, almost.
I just love how over the top Pacino is. He's such like. I mean,
well, he's over the top of anything now that he does.
Yeah, true.
It's so funny because I also Godfather was on the other day too. Like you're just sitting there watching Godfather's on, you just leave it on, and there's the last. It was the end, where Kay comes back, and then Connie comes in and she's like, "Did you kill Carlo?" That's one of my favorite things ever when he kills Carlo. I hate Carlo.
My favorite scenes ever is him shutting the door right in her face. It's so cold.
It's so brutal. But it's also it's such. There's so much there without anything being said. He's like, "Oh, you're bullshitting me. This is such a lie." Whatever it was, but he's so understated in that movie. It's insane. Like like when he goes enough. Like when she or in 2 when they're talking about she had an abortion and he's fucking how mad he gets.
Yeah.
He goes off the handle. I'm like, that's his whole persona now. You know?
And that probably started Sin of a Woman? Is probably when that.
I think
that's kind of when he started the whole.
I think it was
that over the top bullshit. That
Matty Holt, that's your new name now.
I'm good.
Thank you so much for doing this. I'd like to do this. What hasn't been said is our friend Brendan Ayer has been there like half the show, and I want to give you Brendan. Is the mic on?
No,
it's not on. Brendan, I hate doing this to you, so I want to give you like a minute. If you have any comments on what we said, I want to give you a chance to either make fun of us or. If you want to chime in before we go,
so politely.
Thank you, Sean. Hello, Brendan Ayer. What movies were you talking about?
Did you not? Old School?
Yeah, I know. Man, see, I think 2 good comedies are the hardest movies to debate.
Yes,
because it's like other genres are easier to differentiate and argue about, but 2 solid comedies where you're just like, I don't know, they both really made me laugh. It becomes a difficult debate. I would probably go Old School because I think it was more. I think it was a little bit more groundbreaking and started a sort of movement for a lot of those guys. And plus, like, you go through Old School and you remember all these little instances. Like, I don't know if you talked about it before I got here, but like Craig Kilborn is in it.
Right, we totally forgot about
amazing.
Kilborn. What a cameo.
Just an asshole. Like this great. This great.
Played himself.
Yeah. He goes, what are you telling me? You can't. It's Geico.
how he tosses the washcloth to him to see out there.
All right, good talk.
Old School's a better movie.
But hey, I'll give back to you. I just showed up early for the next radio show.
Well, that's all right. Everybody's going to be excited for a little. We'll tease it. We won't even tell you, the audience, the Defenders, who's on. We'll just say special guest appearance at the end. But let us know who you think or what you think. Chip in, chime in.
Yeah, chime in.
With your thoughts.
Email us, defendyourmovie@gmail.com. Also, @defendyourmovie on Twitter. Let us know. Should we match up comedies? We tried our best. What do you think? I think you can. But I think Brendan's right. I think when it's funny, it's funny. But I think we kind of nailed why it was certain things were funny for different reasons. And you never want comedy.
It's kind of like picking which kid you like better.
Exactly.
It's tough.
Comedy, breaking down comedy is always, it's always like, just let it be comedy. But you do. But then if you start talking about it, you realize these things are different for different reasons. These things are funny for different reasons. Matt, what would you like to plug, my friend? Plug the podcast network.
Yeah, social media. It's @Holt Comedy. So find me there. Also go to ontourcomedy.com, and that's the podcast network. And yeah, that's all you need from me.
And Andy?
Very cool. You can find me at Andy Fiore, maybe soon to be Andrew.
I'm going to grab that.
I'm headlining City Steam in Connecticut and Hartford this weekend. So if you're one of the Defenders and you want to come out and say hi, let me know. We'll hang and talk movies and bullshit. And yeah, that's it for me.
Cool. And I'm at Shawnee Time on Instagram and Twitter. And we are on Showbiz Studios. That's showbizstudios.com. They have a YouTube page and also an iTunes page. So check it out. They have a bunch of great podcasts on the show. And we'll see you next week. We love you. Goodbye.
Bye.